You know, I'm going to tell you something that might disturb you at first. In fact, I'm quite certain it will. You've never actually loved anyone. Now, before you close this video in protest, before you think to yourself, what does this man know about my love, my feelings, my relationships? Just stay with me for a moment. What you call love, what you've been calling love all these years, has been something quite different. You've been in love, yes, but not with a person. You've been in love with an image, a mental construction, a phantom that you yourself created. And the most fascinating part, you couldn't have done otherwise. This isn't your fault, you see. It's simply how the human mind operates. But understanding this, really seeing it clearly, could change everything about how you relate to other human beings. So let's explore this together, shall we? Let me paint you a picture of what actually happens when you meet someone. You encounter a human being, and within moments, sometimes within seconds, your mind begins its work. It starts collecting data, making assessments, drawing conclusions. The way they smile, the tone of their voice, the way they move through space. And then something marvelous and terrible happens. Your mind takes all this information and constructs something. It builds an image, a concept, a complete picture of who this person is. Now here's the curious part. From that moment forward, you're not really relating to the person anymore. You're relating to your construction, your mental photograph, your idea of them. Think about it. When you say you love someone, what exactly are you loving? Is it the actual immediate present reality of this constantly changing human being? Or is it the story you've told yourself about them? The role you've assigned them in the drama of your life? You see, we fall in love with our own thoughts. We fall in love with our own projections. And then we're terribly surprised when the real person doesn't quite match up. It's rather like buying a ticket to a play and then being upset when the actors don't perform the script you wrote in your head. Now, why does this happen? Why can't we simply see people as they are? Well, here's the thing. The human mind is essentially an image-making machine. It cannot help but create concepts, categories, labels. This is how it makes sense of the world. You see a tree, and immediately the word tree appears in your mind. But the word is not the thing, is it? The concept of tree is not the actual living, breathing organism standing before you. It's a symbol, a representation, a convenient fiction that allows you to navigate reality. And so it goes with people. You meet someone, and instantly the machinery begins. She's intelligent. He's charming. She reminds me of my mother. He seems trustworthy. Layer upon layer upon layer of interpretation, until you've built an entire cathedral of thought around this person. And then you bow down and worship your own creation. But here's what's truly fascinating. The you that's doing all this image making is itself an image. The ego, the sense of being a separate self, is also a construction. Its image is all the way down, you see. So we have an image called me, creating images of you, and then these two images attempt to relate to each other. Is it any wonder that human relationships are so complicated? We've got ghosts trying to love ghosts, and yet we take it all so seriously. We suffer over these constructions. We write poetry about them. We build our entire lives around them. What a magnificent comedy we're all participating in. Now, let's make a crucial distinction here. There's a profound difference between actually seeing someone and projecting onto them. To see, really see, means to be present with what is. To observe without the constant interference of thought, judgment, comparison. It's a kind of attention that's completely open, receptive, alive to the moment. But projection? Projection is something else entirely. Projection is when you throw your past onto the present. When you impose your desires, your fears, your expectations onto another human being. Let me give you an example. You meet someone who speaks softly and your mind immediately says, "Ah, a gentle person, a kind person." But all you actually know is that they speak softly. Everything else is projection. You're filling in the blanks with your own imagination. Or perhaps someone smiles at you in a certain way and you think they must like me. But do they? Or are you simply projecting your desire to be liked onto their facial expression? You see, we're constantly adding to reality. We can't seem to leave it alone. We must interpret, analyze, conclude, and in doing so we miss what's actually here. The real person, the living, breathing, changing reality of another human being, remains hidden behind our projections, like trying to see a mountain through a fog of our own making. And the tragedy is, we think we're being so perceptive. We think we really know this person. I understand her completely. I know exactly what he's thinking. But what we know is our image, our construction, our elaborate fiction. Now here's where it gets really interesting. Here's where the suffering begins. One day, the person you love does something unexpected. They say something you didn't anticipate. They behave in a way that doesn't fit your picture of them. And what happens? You feel betrayed, confused, hurt. This isn't the person I fell in love with. You cry. They've changed. But have they? Or have they simply revealed an aspect of themselves that didn't fit your mental photograph? Is less than #0. 5# is greater than. You see, the actual person was always changing, always flowing, always containing multitudes. But your image was static, frozen in time, like a snapshot of a river pretending the river doesn't move. People are not things, you see. They're not objects that remain fixed and predictable. They're processes, events, happenings, like music, like dancing water, like clouds moving across the sky. But we want them to be things. We want them to be reliable, consistent, matching our expectations. We want them to be our images. And when they're not, when reality refuses to conform to our mental constructions, we suffer. We feel that something terribly wrong has happened. But nothing wrong has happened at all. Life is simply being life. People are being people. The only problem is the collision between what is and what we think should be, between reality and our image of reality. It's like demanding that the ocean stop making waves because you prefer it calm. The ocean will simply laugh and continue being oceanic. Now, let's dig deeper into why we cling so desperately to these images. Why can't we simply let them go when they don't match reality? The answer is rather fascinating. The ego, this sense of being a separate self, actually needs these images to maintain itself. It feeds on them. It's built from them. You see, when I create an image of you, I'm simultaneously creating and reinforcing an image of me. If you're the intelligent one, then I must be something in relation to that. If you're the strong one, then perhaps I'm the one who needs strength. Every image I make of you is a mirror reflecting an image of myself. And here's the really tricky part. The ego uses relationships to prove its own existence. I am loved, therefore I am. I am needed, therefore I exist. I am understood, therefore I'm real. But if you start seeing people clearly, without images, something dangerous happens. The whole structure becomes unstable. Because if there's no fixed image of you, then there's no fixed image of me. And the ego cannot tolerate that. It desperately needs these definitions, these boundaries, these solid reference points. So it resists. It fights tooth and nail to maintain its constructions, even when those constructions are causing suffering, even when they're preventing any real connection. Better to suffer with a familiar image than to face the unknown of seeing clearly. At least suffering confirms that I exist. What a peculiar predicament we've created for ourselves. And here's another curious thing we do. We fall in love with memories. Someone does something wonderful, something that touches us deeply, and we capture it, preserve it, enshrine it in memory, then we expect them to keep being that moment forever. Remember when you used to look at me that way is less than #0. 5# is greater than you used to be so spontaneous. Where did that person go? But that person never existed except as a moment in time. A fleeting expression of life that came and went like a wave on the ocean. Or we do the opposite. We fall in love with potential, with future possibilities. They could be so wonderful if only. I can see what they're capable of becoming. So we're loving someone who doesn't exist yet, someone we imagine they might become, and we try to shape them, mold them, push them toward our vision. Past or future, you see. Anything but the present. Anything but what actually is. Because what is right now might not match our image. And we can't have that, can we? The person standing before you, in this moment, remains invisible, hidden behind memories of who they were, or fantasies of who they might become. It's like trying to embrace a ghost while the living person stands there unseen, untouched. Now let's look at something even more subtle, even more hidden in the shadows of relationship. We don't just create images of others. We need others to confirm our images of ourselves. Think about it. When you say you love someone, there's often a hidden clause in that contract. I love you really means I love you loving me, or I love you needing me, or I love you seeing me as I want to be seen. We're using other people as mirrors, as confirmation devices, as props in the theater of our own self-image. I need to be needed, we say. And we think that's noble, that's love. But look closely at that statement. I need. It's about me, isn't it? About my need, my requirement, my deficiency. So we find someone who needs us, or we create that need in them. We become indispensable. We solve their problems, fix their issues, become their rock, their stability, their answer. And all the while we're really just building a more elaborate image of ourselves. I am the helper. I am the strong one. I am the one who saves. It's a hall of mirrors, you see. My image reflects your image, reflects my image. Round and round we go, never actually meeting. Two masks dancing together, pretending to be intimate. And if the other person suddenly doesn't need us anymore, if they grow, change, become independent, we panic, because our image of ourselves is threatened. We might even sabotage their growth to maintain our role. Don't change, I love you just as you are. Translation, don't change, because I need you to stay weak so I can stay strong. What we call love is often just mutual exploitation of images. Two people using each other to avoid seeing themselves clearly. So what happens when the image finally breaks? When reality forces itself through the cracks of our constructions? We call it heartbreak is less than #0. 5# is greater than disappointment, the end of love. But is it really? What's actually broken is not your heart. It's your image. Your mental picture, your fantasy, your story. That's what's shattered. And yes, it hurts. Because you've invested so much in that construction. You've built your sense of security around it. Your hope, your future plans, your very identity has become entangled with this image. But here's what's extraordinary. In the moment when the image shatters, there's a possibility. A crack in the wall, you might say. A glimpse of something real. Because for just an instant before you build the next image, before you construct the next story, there's a gap, a space of not knowing. And in that space, actual seeing might occur. But most people can't bear it. The gap is too frightening. The not knowing is intolerable. So immediately they start building again. I was wrong about them. They deceived me. All men are like this. Women can't be trusted. New image, same old mechanism, just with different content. We never learn the lesson. We never see that the problem isn't the particular image. The problem is the image making itself. It's like blaming the quality of your dreams for your suffering, never realizing that you're asleep. So now we come to the real question, the one that matters. Is it possible to love without images is less than #0? 5# is greater than. Can we actually relate to another human being directly, immediately, without all this mental machinery getting in the way? Well, let me ask you this. Have you ever had a moment, perhaps very brief, where you saw someone completely fresh? As if for the first time, not your partner, not your friend, not your mother or father or child, just a human being, present, alive, real. In that moment there was no comparison, no judgment, no expectation. Just pure awareness, pure attention. That, I would suggest, is the beginning of real love. Love without motive. Love without demand. Love that doesn't need anything in return because it isn't coming from need at all. It's the difference between clutching and holding, between grasping and receiving, between controlling and allowing. You see, when there's no image, there's no fear of losing the image. When there's no projection, there's no disappointment when reality doesn't match. When there's no demand, there's no suffering when demands aren't met. What remains is simply this: presence meeting presence. Life recognizing itself in another form. But this requires something from you. It requires that you die, in a sense. That the image maker, the separate self, steps aside. And most people would rather suffer with their images than face that death. So here we are at the end of our exploration, or perhaps it's really the beginning. What I'm suggesting to you is simply this: stop. Stop the image making, even for a moment. Stop the constant interpretation, the endless commentary, the ceaseless judging and concluding. Just look. Really look at the person before you, not at who they were yesterday, not at who they might become tomorrow, not at how they make you feel, or what they mean to you, or what role they play in your life story. Just this person, here, now. And do you know what happens when you do this? Something extraordinary. You become free. Free from the tyranny of your own expectations. Free from the burden of maintaining all these elaborate constructions. Free from the constant disappointment that comes from demanding that reality match your pictures. And here's the paradox. When you stop trying to possess the person through images, you actually come closer to them than you ever were before. Because now there's no barrier, no wall of thought between you. Just direct contact, immediate, real. It's like the difference between looking at a photograph of the ocean and actually swimming in it. One is a representation. The other is the living thing itself. Now, I'm not suggesting this is easy. The habit of image making is deeply ingrained. The mind will continue doing what it does, thinking, conceptualizing, creating pictures. But you can begin to notice it, to see it happening. And in that seeing, there's space. There's a gap between the image and reality. And in that gap, something new becomes possible. A way of relating that isn't based on mutual exploitation of images. A way of loving that doesn't demand, doesn't cling, doesn't suffocate. You see, when you truly see another person, without the interference of thought, something miraculous happens. You see yourself in them. Not the ego self, not the image self, but the deeper reality that's common to all of us. The same consciousness looking out from different eyes. The same life expressing itself in infinite forms, and then the whole question changes. It's no longer, how can I get this person to match my image? It becomes, what is this extraordinary thing called life doing right here, right now, in this form? That's not possession. That's not romantic fantasy. That's something far more profound. You might call it love, or you might not call it anything at all, because the moment you name it, you've made it into an image again. Better to simply live it, to be it, without the constant need to understand, to define, to capture it in thought. So, my friends, I leave you with this. The next time you look at someone you love, or think you love, try this little experiment. See if you can set aside, just for a moment, everything you know about them, every memory, every expectation, every judgment. See if you can look at them as if you've never seen them before, as if they're completely new, completely fresh, completely unknown. It might frighten you. It might be uncomfortable, because in that moment, you're also unknown to yourself. But I promise you there's something absolutely liberating in that not knowing. The kind of freedom you may have forgotten was possible. Because you see, love isn't something you do. It's not an emotion you feel or a state you achieve. It's what remains when you stop doing all the things you think are love. When the image maker rests, when the grasping stops, when the mind becomes quiet, what's there is simply this: life, being alive, recognizing itself everywhere. And that, I would say, is the only love that never disappoints, because it asks for nothing. It demands nothing. It clings to nothing. It simply is. And in being, it sets everyone free. Thank you for exploring this with me.